Hey guys, I'm Amy May and I have lost 80 pounds in 18 months with the help of Mounjaro. Now, I've recently been doing a little Mounjaro compilation series playlist, so I'll put a link to that on screen and also in the description if you want to check that out, because I've been documenting my journey here on YouTube since the beginning. So like 18 months ago when I was BMI 38. Since day one I've been documenting on here. So if that is something you're interested in, I'll give you a link. But today we're going to talk about 10 things that I no longer do after massive weight loss. Number one, I no longer use getting a takeaway as an excuse to get a ridiculous amount of food. For example, in the past, I'd be getting a takeaway and I'd get a burger, chips, and then obviously because delivery was like £4 or £5, I'd use that as a justification to be like, well, if I'm going to spend a £5 on delivery, I may as well get a mozzarella share box and a cheesecake as well. And then obviously you feel grotty as well, don't you? So then you'd put it in the fridge, and then the next day when I was back on track, I'd feel even more grotty when you open the fridge and you see the remnants, you see the remains of last night. I'm now able to just order a takeaway, order what I want, because I don't go for like the healthy option. I order what I want. Do you know what I mean? If I'm feeling a big dirty burger and some sweet potato fries, I'm going to have it. But I don't then, order another 2 meals. This brings me on to number 2, and this is something that Mounjaro is really giving me the freedom to experience. I no longer have that all or nothing mentality. So, for example, if I skip a day at the gym, if I have a takeaway, if I have some chocolate, have some little treats, I no longer think, well, sod it then. Like, what's the point? May as well just quit and never go to the gym again. May as well just eat 5 family-sized bars of chocolate and just pack it in, call it a day. I no longer have that all or nothing mentality. As some of you know, I've got a slip disc and a drop foot at the minute. I'm waiting on an MRI and an appointment with orthopaedics. So I'm very limited in the sorts of exercise I can do, and I haven't been to the gym in at least 2 months. It started before the drop foot, but I haven't been to the gym in 8 to 10 weeks. Maybe, I'd say 8 weeks, I'd say 10 weeks at least. But again, in the past, that would have completely derailed me. It would have just knocked me out of focus, and basically I'd never try again. Well, I would, because I've tried and failed many times. But, that diet, that journey, whatever you want to call it, that'd be the end of that. And then I'd have to start again, in my mind. But I no longer allow myself to have that mentality. And that is honestly something that I can thank Mounjaro for. Number 3, I'm not constantly aware of how much space I take up. I don't feel uncomfortable 24/7 just existing. And it sounds silly to people who have never been fat, but obviously having grown up obese, like I've never been thin, do you know what I mean? Like having yo-yo dieted, grown up fat, had that experience, and until Mounjaro, not been able to maintain weight loss. And I think as well, not being able to actually reach a healthy BMI. Grown up fat, I was always aware of how much space I was taking up. You're always aware that you're fat, because no one lets you forget it, do they? When you're fat, especially, well, anyone, even when you're kids, I got bullied because I was fat. You're very aware of how fat you are. You're very aware. It's not a secret how big you are. And I think that as well, maybe in your own mind, that gets blown out of proportion. You feel bigger than you are, because even in films, like Fat Amy in Pitch Perfect, the Fat Funny Friend film or the Duff film or whatever it was called, and she wasn't even fat. That is toxic. I'm sure Britney got called fat at one point, at many points, but she obviously wasn't. So I'm no longer constantly aware of how much space I take up. I'm no longer afraid to exist. I'm no longer constantly aware of how my clothes are hugging my fat rolls. Being fat, for me, was being uncomfortable 24/7. Psychologically, physically uncomfortable 24/7 being obese. And I no longer have that. Having lost 80 pounds and now a healthy BMI, I don't really like tight fitting. I have to pick and choose my moments for tight fitting clothes. I still have that sort of uncomfortable, don't like things hugging my body. But, I'm wearing a baggy t-shirt now, to be fair, but I'm not constantly aware of how my clothes hug my fat rolls or of how they hug my body. Whereas before, that was something 24/7 I was uncomfortable. 24/7 I was uncomfortable, and I was just thinking about how fat I was. Number 4, if I do eat some chocolate, if I do have a takeaway, if I, even if I eat too much or if I feel a bit uncomfortably full, I'm not going to beat myself up about that. We move. Do you know what I mean? We take account of it and we move. We don't look back at that. Whereas before, I don't like describing foods as good and bad, but you know what I'm talking about in terms of bad foods or like a bad choice. Before, if I'd have, I'd be all or nothing mentality. I'd be on this diet, weight loss journey, whatever. And then if I had a chocolate bar, it'd turn into 5. But I'd feel guilt. I'd feel intense guilt and shame. And I think being fat, I always felt ashamed of the way I looked. I'm not saying that you should do, obviously. I had a very difficult relationship with myself, and that is something that I'm still working on. Although, a lot of you know that have been following me since the beginning, my confidence is skyrocketed. Well, I don't want to act like I'm like the big I am and like I'm all about myself now, but I had no self-esteem, no self-worth, no confidence whatsoever. And, weight loss, I've built that confidence. I've done things that I wouldn't have dared do before, like go to the gym and, like try new gym classes, or I even went on a solo trip to Budapest because I spent my whole life thinking, when I'm thin, and I missed out on a lot of opportunities. The best thing for me, I've said before, obviously the weight loss, but confidence. Mounjaro has given me a new lease of life. I personally think it's saved my life in more ways than one, and the confidence it's given me has been incredible. Number 5, I no longer have to finish my plate. If I go out for a meal, if I pay for a meal, I won't force myself to finish it if I feel uncomfortable or if I feel full. Now, I hate wasting money. Especially if you're going out for food or whatever and it's expensive. Or takeaways. Takeaways aren't cheap, either mentally or financially. But I don't force myself to finish it. I eat what I want. I don't go for the healthy option. Like, I'm not out here trying to get a salad from a burger shop. Fair enough if you are, but that's never been me. That's never been a bit of me. I hate salad, can't stand it. I think it's minging. I am folate deficient. Well, I was. But I order what I want and, okay, there's 3 chicken nuggets left. That's a shame. That's £2.50 gone. But I don't force it down myself. And to be honest, I think before, yes, okay, that was partly to do with money. I hate wasting money, especially if it's not cheap. But also, I had to have it. I couldn't stop myself. I had to. Do you know what I mean? So that's, again, another great positive. Number 6, I no longer just go to the gym. Well, when I can go to the gym, I no longer go to the gym and just walk on the treadmill. And that's a huge one, because before, my entire life, whenever I have been brave enough to step into the gym, which is a very intimidating, daunting thing, right? Especially if you haven't been in ever, or if you haven't been in a while. But I don't just walk on the treadmill. I'd always just stick to the treadmill because that was what I knew. That was safe. Maybe a slight incline, maybe a brisk walk, but I was far too scared to try the weight machines, to try classes. I think because out of fear of ridicule, I think mainly, but also I didn't have the confidence. So if I didn't know how to use a gym machine, don't get me wrong, in the past 18 months when I've been going to the gym, I don't know what I'm doing, but I've had the confidence to go up to a gym machine and, risk looking silly, risk looking a bit like I clearly don't know what I'm doing. And to be fair, people in my gym have been really helpful if I've needed it. And the coach that does one of the classes that I do, he's really helpful. And he's helped me out before and just given me a tour and just shown me what I'm doing. And he doesn't matter how many times I ask him because I can't remember. But before I'd have just walked on the treadmill. That was it. Half-hour treadmill, home. So again, to be honest, I think these 10 things are all linked together. But increased confidence, sort of spread my net, widened my horizon in terms of going to the gym and actually doing classes, trying new things, because I'd have never done that before, ever. So I'm really happy about that because it has just made my life better. It has. Number 7, I no longer wear clothes that just fit me. Being fat, growing up fat, you're very limited in your wardrobe and what you can wear. Often they don't do clothes that you like in your size. Like I said before, I would have never walked into a shop and tried stuff on or bought stuff before I lost weight. Partly because they wouldn't have had anything in my size, but just the uncomfortableness, just the feeling of feeling like everyone's staring at me, feeling like you give something back to the girl who's manning the fitting room, she'll be judging you, going, yeah, I thought you were too fat to fit in that. Not that I'd have ever tried stuff on anyway, partly because, like I said, nothing in my size. But now, I mean, you'll see shortly, guys, because I did get some things from Urban Outfitters in the Black Friday sale. Who's shocked? Not me at all, not my overdraft. But I will have like a little clothes haul coming for you soon, a little Black Friday clothes haul. I think a few people have asked me, has your style changed since you've lost weight? It's not changed, but I'm able to actualise it. I'm able to realise it. I was about to say, I've always had style. I have always had style. I've always sort of known what sort of clothes I'd like to wear when I get thin. But either because the clothes just, they didn't do it in my size. But I think even if they did do it in my size back then, I wouldn't have been brave enough. I wouldn't have had the confidence. Because in my mind, those clothes are for thin people. And I'd just be terrified to be mocked, ridiculed. Because when you're fat, you're hyper aware of everything. So now, I mean, you'll have seen lots of my YouTube shorts. I've been camping out in the Urban Outfitters changing rooms, waiting for Black Friday. But you'll have seen the clothes that I wear now, I would never have even dreamed of wearing. I mean, I'm not going to lie, before weight loss, for a good 3, 4, 5 plus years, I didn't wear anything that didn't have an elasticated waistband. And people ask me, what was your highest size? I honestly don't know. I'd say at least a UK size 22, at least. Because I think the biggest pair of jeans that I actually owned were a size 18 and they weren't doing the job. And I think I've told you the story before about how me McDonald's trousers ripped at work, and then I had to get a bigger size, either a UK 20 or UK 22, and they were still tight. And oh my goodness, I think as well, I'm pretty sure there was even a point when I couldn't button them up properly, so or could I only do one button, something like that. So I was having like a bobble to like, do you know what you call it, like try and keep them on my body. Obviously, they then ended up ripping. I think they ripped along the bum anyway when I was on shift. Luckily, there was a bigger size in stock. Thank the Lord. But yeah, I think I got up to like a UK 20, UK 22. And to be honest, potentially even more than that. I'd say UK 22 at least. Number 8, again, this is linked to my increased confidence. I no longer lower my standards. Like I said, years gone by, my entire life up until I lost weight, I didn't have any self-respect. I didn't have any sense of self-worth, any self-esteem. And I was sort of convinced that because I was fat, I was worthless. And I think as well, I didn't feel deserving of good things. I mean, it's multifactorial, but I didn't feel deserving. And so, for example, when it came to dating, things like that, I didn't have any standards. I didn't even have any standards. And because I didn't think that I deserved better, and I didn't think I'd ever get better because I was fat. And I put up with a lot of things I should never put up with and would never put up with now. But it took me losing weight to actually gain any sort of self-esteem. And that's really sad. That's really sad. I want to give, me a hug. I want to give, obese me a hug. But that wouldn't fix anything, would it? Let's be real. But I really do wish that I'd had a sense of self-worth back then. But at the same time, I genuinely don't think I would have done unless I lost weight. And that's really, really sad to think about, because you shouldn't have to lose weight to feel better about yourself, to have some confidence and to not feel like you're worthless. But I think for me, I was in such a dark place. I was in a pit. It wasn't even rock bottom, it was like 5 levels below rock bottom. And that feeling, that complete lack of confidence seeped into all aspects of my life. So I mentioned before, I missed opportunities, I had no sense of self-worth. So I didn't think that I deserved anything, and so I wouldn't go for certain opportunities, or especially when it came to dating, when it came to men, I wouldn't, As I said, I put up with things shouldn't have put up with. And just because I didn't have any love for myself. So that is something that I'm slowly learning on this journey. And honestly, I wouldn't touch men with a barge pole right now. I've been out the dating game for a while, but not with a barge pole. Number 9, I feel like I'm cheating because these are all quite similar, but number 9, I'm no longer hyper aware of what other people think. I am quite an anxious person, but more so in the way that I'm not constantly thinking, oh, like they're looking at me thinking, you're so fat, you're so ugly. And I'm, if somebody walks past me and looks at me, I don't automatically jump to, oh, they're judging me for being fat. Or like, if someone mutters something, I don't automatically assume, oh, it's aimed at me because I'm fat. If someone walks past me and I think they might have said something, I don't automatically get a wave of shame and embarrassment and think, oh my gosh, I bet they've just said something about my weight. It's difficult because obviously it happens a lot. Like when I was obese, I did have people, even random people. Oh wow, I remember one incident on Christmas Eve when I worked at McDonald's and this woman called me, was it a fat B word or a fat C word? It was over something silly like a Big Mac, and it was Christmas Eve and I was 18 years old and she called me either a fat C or B. It's not that deep. It's McDonald's, love. It's McDonald's, honey. Merry Christmas. But so it did happen. I did have strangers shout. I've had people shout things out the window at me before. I think I mentioned before, it was like this one, I'd just done like a 12-hour night shift and I was walking back home. What was it, Porky? It was something like that, something along those lines, like Porky. Sorry? Excusez-moi? But obviously I'm a doctor, so I wouldn't be like slashing people's tyres and that. Or like, I wouldn't be like car park now. But, to be honest, I think now, I don't even know if that would bother me if someone shouted something out. Actually, that's not true. So yeah, it's cheating because it is kind of related to the other ones, but I'm not hyper aware of how fat I am. As I said before, how much space I take up. And if someone doesn't like me or if I get the vibe that someone doesn't like me, I don't automatically think about my weight. Because obviously growing up obese, growing up fat, and having nasty comments and things like that, my weight was always at the forefront of my mind. You may as well have just put fat on my forehead, because being fat, that is what it feels like. Because obviously it's not something you can hide, and people do treat you differently. People treat you worse, and you do get people being really nasty to you just because you're fat. I can't remember how many I've done, so I'm just going to call this one number 10. And I think I've probably already mentioned it. But number 10, weight loss. I don't hate myself as much. I think I've already said this about 4 times, but that is something massive for me. I'm not 24/7 thinking about what my next diet will be or what I need to do to lose weight. My weight was on my mind 24/7. I'm not even joking. It consumed my whole life. Being fat consumed my whole life. I was constantly thinking about, how do I lose weight? How do I lose weight? Or the things that I'd do when I got thin, or the clothes that I'd wear when I lost weight. 24/7. It lived in my head rent-free, and it trashed the place, honestly. So 24/7, I'm not thinking about my weight anymore. I'm not thinking about food 24/7 either. So the food noise is gone, which is stunning. I'm not thinking about my weight. I'm not thinking about food. I'm not craving things 24/7. And that is amazing. It is amazing. It's really weird because until the food noise was gone, I didn't realise, well, 1, I didn't realise that I had it, and 2, I didn't realise other people didn't have it, basically. Sorry, I think it's really dark in this video, but my lights broke. But anyway, I think at least 5 of the 10 of those were probably all the same, but I gave it a bash. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I just wanted to come on here and make a quick video. And I'm going to go through and reply to everyone's comments because everyone's been so well, some people haven't been lovely. I'll say that. You're lucky I'm a doctor. That's all I'll say. You're lucky I'd like to keep my job. Yeah, if I wasn't a young professional, my replies to certain comments would be different. Let's just say that. And let's leave it at that. But I will see you all in the next video, and check out my Mounjaro playlist. There'll be links in the description below, and I'll also put like a card thing on screen so you can click that if you want. See you later.